sir.
Okay, so I'll take another 15 minutes or so, or 12 minutes to give a highlight of the picture, and especially related to heart disease. But more important, to give a wider picture of coronavirus coming from our medical side. So I am the chairman of Indo-European Course of Revascularization. Today the theme is impact on heart and primary angioplasty. Global perspective as of yesterday evening was 58 lakhs people affected, 25 lakhs deaths. I would like to give you some highlights before I go on to the presentation of the yesterday. Death came across 350 lakh limbs in some countries. Dr. Fauci from US says the vaccine is possible this year. The overall situation in India is number 10 after US, Brazil, Russia, Spain. Italy has gone down. Still, we have more people coming to India, Germany, although we are not doing that many testings as of now. This is very important that 15,000 cases and 300 deaths. This was rising curve of Delhi and otherwise. This is an important slide I would like to show you is that when nations have eased lockdowns, this is now 4.0 lockdown in India and other countries also they have eased out the lockdowns. We take a look into how different countries have enforced and relaxed lockdown norms at different stages of their outbreak and how India is an outlier and it is the only one nation that has started relaxing the lockdown before the flattening of the curve. This is important and interesting and a little serious. Although Honorable Prime Minister has continued the lockdown for the next 31st of May, but he has given the freedom to the individual chief ministers to take a look and decide whether they can ease the lockdown. So as such, the flattening of the curve has not happened in India. We are seeing about 6,000 to 7,000 patients per day. Whether it is because of lockdown or is it because of the increasing testing, we don't know. But this is not the right situation for easing the lockdown from medical point of view. Although economy is one thing, people are hungry, people are not able to eat despite a lot of NGO and government taking care of the people who are basically dependent upon daily earning. So if you see the flattening of the curve with Peru, Mexico, Chile, Brazil, USA, United Kingdom, Spain, Russia, they started easing the lockdown once they had actually the flattening of the curve. But in India, the flattening has not come and still we are thinking of easing the lockdown. The private hospitals are also under pressure. Only before yesterday, Chief Minister of Delhi announced that every private hospital should have a bed reserved, which is causing a little problem because then most of the other patients are really fearing. For example, in Apollo Delhi, we have 87 beds reserved for coronavirus disease. This is the largest number as such. The other private hospitals also have it. Now even they are saying that you have to all the hospitals, despite the number of beds, they have to have beds coming up. So this is how we are working in the cath lab. You can see we never used actually, let me tell you very honestly, when we are doing coronary angiography and angioplasty, we were not even using the mask or the head cover. Now we are fully covered and with the face shield, as you can see the picture. We had how Apollo is treating COVID May 28. This was yesterday live on Republic Bharat. I was telling them from the COVID ward and also our ICU that we have reserved beds. But our bed capacity 87 is completely full as of now. We have a huge waiting list. Yesterday evening while I was doing the webinar, I got a call from a senior industrialist in Noida and he was asking ICU bed. Sometimes we fear that if our own colleague requires an ICU bed for corona with a ventilator or without a ventilator, it is difficult to manage and all our ICU is completely full. So things have not eased down. Coming on to the picture of angioplasty, the economic burden, we all know 2 lakh crore package has been given. Our finance minister is announcing the many collateral loans. Economic burden, not going to details, but even this was yesterday, Mr. OECD Secretary General speaking that the whole economic burden, this is the second time economic recession will happen. Coming on to the disease, now let me go to the medical point. That was a general perspective. This is a viral disease. Whenever you were thinking of virus disease, it was considered to be a normal thing. And khasi, jukam, bukar was a common thing. You thought, apne aap theek ho jayega. That was a concept. because most of the people develop immunity over a period of time, and when they develop immunity, then at that time it is not difficult. So to give you some examples how the coronavirus entry and replication, coronavirus S protein has been reported as significant determinant of virus entry into the host cells. And then after that, I have to skip few slides because this is also medically made. Once a virus enters the cells, the viral RNA genome is released into the cytoplasm and is translated into two polyproteins, the structure protein. Antigen presentation. This is antigen and antibody are two components of the cells. When the virus goes inside, the antibodies are released, and there are two types of antibodies which are IgM and IgG, and that is why you must have heard that IgM and IgG antibodies is a rapid testing kit which detects the IgM body. IgM disappeared at the end of week 12, that means at third month it disappears, while IgG antibody can last for a longer time. And this is where we detect that plasma therapy is dependent upon detection of these antibodies. Whenever you require a plasma treatment, I'll let you know within a while. When you require a plasma treatment, for the treatment you must be hearing, and now people are available and knowing about it. Cytochrome storm is COVID-19. You might not have heard, but this is a final actually nail when the cytokine storm will trigger a violent attack by the immune system of the body causing ARDS, that means acute respiratory distress syndrome and multi-organ failure leading to death. As of now, we know that about 4% to 5% patients will die. Overall global perspective is like this, while 80% will recover, 20% will become serious, and if you have a heart disease, then about 15% mortality, which is very, very high. More than 80 years, 18% mortality, and if you have diabetes, 7% mortality. Mortality means chances of death. So that is why we are very much concerned. First of all, when you remember HIV AIDS, which came about few years back, and still there is no vaccine, but HIV was, you can maintain if you are not doing a that was sexually and blood transmitted. But here it can be airborne. So we have to be very, very careful. A virus disease with a mortality of 4 to 5% in general is having a mortality, no vaccine, no treatment as of today. So we have to be very careful. So clinical symptoms and signs, we know diagnosis is basically made are very atypical. Basically it is cough and fever. It is not a productive cough, no sputum. But the diagnosis is actually coming from real-time quantitative chain reaction, which is RT-PCR, which is PCR chain reaction, and this is taken from the respiratory secretion. It is not the blood test, but it is taken from the respiratory secretions, and the report comes after about 8 hours to 12 hours. It is not immediate. So that is one thing. The two limitations of this test. One limitation is it is little expensive. In private hospital, the kit itself costs about 4,000 rupees. The government is doing free of cost. But second is that it is not immediately like blood sugar. It is the respiratory secretions, throat secretion, they are taken for the analysis, and that is radiological diagnosis. Sometimes you have a clear-cut symptom. This is something many people do not know. You have a clear-cut symptoms and you have a travel history, you have a family history. That means somebody is already having a disease and you have infected, but PCR test is negative. At that time, the CT scan is the only way to confirm the diagnosis, and the ground glass appearance of the CT scan actually gives a diagnosis, and this is auxiliary diagnosis. Testing is the key to success. As we all know, India was lagging behind in testing during the early part. If you remember, early part means about 3-4 weeks back, we were testing about 700 cases per million. While Germany has tested 25,000 cases per million, America earlier was testing about 8,000 cases per million. Now they have gone up to 20,000 cases per million. But India is catching up. Now we are testing about 1,800 cases per million. So we have a problem. That means we have problem because despite the large population, we have limitation of the testing. And if you remember the antibody testing, which is a blood test, we had a kit coming from China and that was returned back because it was faulty. So now National Institute of Virology, Pune has developed India's first testing COVID-19 antibody kit. And so I'm muting all so that we can, otherwise there is some problem, there is some, okay. So I'm muting all except for myself. So we know that antibody test is still being made, but we don't have, as of now today, the antibody tests are still not foolproof. So we are dependent upon PCR test. Niti Aayog has planned that 1.25 lakhs RT-PCR tests should be done in one day. This is 9th of May, the planning. So testing is very important. How medicines work. Coming on to the part how the medicine work. This is a flow diagram which I want to show and share with everybody, that this is a virus. It is a nanogram, it's very small and seen by electronic microscope. This enters the cell of the body, which can be any cell, but mostly it goes into the respiratory cell, which is the lung. And when it is uncoated, and then it leads to formation of polypeptide and non-structural proteins and RNA-dependent proteins. And this actually finishes off the cells. Hydroxychloroquine works at this level, membrane fusion and endocytosis, while remdesivir antiviral drug, this works at the level of inhibits viral RDRP. A little technical, but we should note that these are the only two medicines which is now being FDA approved, but there is some doubt about the hydroxychloroquine. I will actually immediately go to hydroxychloroquine because this is important for the perspective of the people to know whether they should take it or they should not take it. So hydroxychloroquine is not an anti-malarial drug. Actually, chloroquine sulfate is an anti-malarial drug. It is a brother of chloroquine. It is used for rheumatoid arthritis and also for autoimmune disease. This is taken very frequently and is being given for many years together. And ICMR had Indian Council of Medical Research issued the guidelines about 4 weeks or 1 month back, 1.5 months back, that every healthcare worker should take a prophylaxis, that means a preventive hydroxychloroquine, which was a very small dose, 400 milligram twice a day only for 1 day, followed by 400 milligram once a week for 7 weeks. But then, let me tell you the historical aspect. This was the ICMR guidelines. Historical aspect in February 2020, a French doctor who is also known to me, he spoke. So it is in French. So let me tell you, he was actually laughing. He is a very senior virologist from Marseille. Marseille is a city in France, near south of France. And he was saying that hydroxychloroquine is dangerous. Now we are talking of treatment. As I told you, there is no Rambam. Even today, after 6 months of suffering, not even a single country has been able to find a treatment of today. We are just doing empirical treatment. There are few antivirus medicines which might be effective. That is why we are not able to control the deaths. So in February 2020, China had released a guideline. I will quickly go to the China, what China said, because they were the first country to be affected. And they say, this is a slide which I will read out. Sorry for this. So they said that COVID-19, you can try hydroxychloroquine just because you don't have as such no major treatment available. But in February again, this person who is a very senior respected person in France, he was laughing that it might cause more problem because of cardiotoxicity. So this was there. But in April 9, this is historically, but it's only 1 month back, he himself did a study of 1,000 patients, and what the study showed that hydroxychloroquine is no cardiac toxicity, 91% success, only 0.4% death, 1,000 patients done by the French people, and this was the key, and that is why, if you remember, in March itself, Mr. Donald Trump was pressurizing our Honorable Prime Minister not to curb the ban which was done by the Indian government, because they thought that this is going to be wonder drug, and therefore they concluded that the combination of hydroxychloroquine with azithromycin, which is an antibiotic, is a very useful agent. So coming to the latest guideline for last 5 days, you might be hearing the Federal Drug Administration actually in 28 March, they released that this can be used for the treatment in emergency situation when the patient is not getting better. And similarly, April 25, they have again the guideline. What is FDA? Federal Drug Administration is a body like DCGI. In India, it is Drug Controller Government of India. But FDA is very strong. They will not allow any medicine to be used unless they do it and most of the cardiologists and physicians in America actually are very much terrified with FDA because of the terror they have created. So in 25 April, they said that this can be used in, but if you remember 2 days back, WHO has actually stopped the trial of hydroxychloroquine. Now this is Trump versus WHO. It is more of a fight rather than actuality. And day before yesterday, the Director General of Indian Council of Medical Research himself came on the press saying that hydroxychloroquine is safe. I am telling myself, it is safe, and the prophylaxis being prevention should always be done, and all the healthcare workers or even the policemen, I am extending this guideline, those who are going to the field, the media person, there is no harm in taking this medicine. If your ECG is normal, you take consultation with your cardiologist. If the prolonged QT interval is a very specific thing which is seen in the ECG. If this is normal, this is the best take as of today to be preventive. Hydroxychloroquine it will not prevent infection. Then let me tell you, it is not a vaccine. It will not prevent infection, but it will reduce the virus load. If at all you get infected, then you will not go into serious condition. You will be mild or asymptomatic, or you will not have major fever and you will not require ventilator. This is the advantage of hydroxychloroquine. So my point is, all healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, ward boys, the people who are doing the pharmacy inside the hospitals, and I am extending, although Indian Council of Medical Research says only for healthcare workers, but I am extending myself, even the policemen. You might have heard that a lot of police people are getting affected because they are in the field. They should not avoid, they should consult their cardiologist, and if a cardiologist allows them, you should use it. What is repurposed medicine? Repurposed medicine is, you have been reading a lot in the newspaper. Actually, these are the medicines which are being used for some other purpose. That means, for example, for malaria, or for some other fever. And now they are being tested. Now they are being tested for COVID-19. Many antiviral drugs, anti-leprosy drug, interferon, antibodies, plasma therapy, anti-cancer drug, stem cells, cytokines, immunosuppressants, human vaccine including BCG are being tested for this medicine, because as of now there is no specific medicine which can really help. So these are repurposed medicine. I want to give a highlight today here, including my father, who is a director, who has been assistant director with the Indian Council of Medical Research, had a talk yesterday with the PMO, and he has given one medicine which I cannot reveal the name. According to him, it's only 14 days trial. He has a lot of research, and this can be used for the purpose of this can be tried, and maybe it can be useful. This is the only medicine, ivermectin, which is the only medicine as of today has been tested for antiviral activity, and the trials are going on in UK and USA for this purpose. As of now, Bangladesh has done some study in this, but India has not started trial. Ivermectin is an anti-protozoal drugs, anti-parasite medicine used for the filaria and other places, even Gorakhpur and East UP. It has a little higher toxicity, but this is being tested. So this has shown antiviral activity to the extent of 5,000-fold reduction in 48 hours. This is a very useful. This can turn out to be a rambad actually if it is the human trials are successful. The effect is likely through inhibiting IP-MPA. So this is one medicine where we can really bank upon. Let the study trial come, and also my father's drug, which is going to be tested soon by ICMR. Only 14 days trial. Remdesivir is an antiviral medicine. People are still dying. We have lost patients in Apollo Hospital also because of various factors. As I told you, there is not a specific medicine, and vaccine is far away. So Remdesivir is the only FDA-approved antiviral medicine. I'll take another 5 minutes also, then we can take up the question, because this is very important for the people to know. You must be reading Remdesivir in the newspaper. What is Remdesivir? It's an antiviral medicine which is given by infusion, previously failed as an Ebola treatment, but showed promise against certain coronavirus in animal studies. In the first large randomized COVID-19 trial, Remdesivir led to statistically significant reduction recovery time for hospitalized patients compared to placebo. And that is why recently this has been approved for the treatment. But you will be surprised to know, India still does not have this. We have the Glide company, E-Glide company is making it. We are trying to close it. I don't know why we are not able to help our patient with this medicine. This is the antiviral medicine which has been approved by the FDA for the treatment. Coming on to the use of mask, this is very important for the public. You know there are two types of masks available. One is 3-ply mask, which is a surgical mask. Another is N95 mask, which we use it for very special purposes. In fact, people did not know. I would like to tell you, this was in March 26. I was talking somewhere in one of the television shows. At that time, I made a voice that we should, everybody on the road should be actually wearing the mask. There was no guideline. At that time, the guideline was to cover your face if you are in the hospital, and the lockdown was complete from March 24, if you recall. This is March 29. At that time, it was recalled. At that time, there was no guideline for the policemen, for the people who are going out into the market, for mother dairy, for vegetables, for essentials. They were not wearing and covering the face. This was the time when there was Anand Vihar terminal happened. If you remember, lot of workers, they went to the Anand Vihar terminal of Delhi to move out, and it was a false news, and there is a huge problem, and this was actually a mockery to the lockdown. At that time, I used the word angocha. I said, let everybody use that, cover the face with the mask. Mask is not possible, then you have to cover the face with a hanky. If they don't have hanky, they can use the angocha, which everybody, all the workers have it. So I was made, actually, at that time, I don't want to repeat this video, at that time, people were laughing at me and people were saying that don't create panic. How can everybody cover the face with the mask or angocha? And after a week only, if you remember, Honorable Prime Minister used and I tweeted also to the PMO and the PM also, that Honorable Prime Minister himself was using the gamcha, and this became a guideline for everybody who's going out, because at that time people never thought it can be airborne. People were just saying social distancing, which is 1 meter. I also said at that time 2 meters. Coming on to the vaccine. So now the guideline which came after 1 week of myself saying it angocha, if you allow me, I can just show you this small 30 seconds.
हमारे जितने भी लोग काम कर रहे हैं, बॉर्डर पे खड़े हैं, जो अधिकारी हैं, जो पुलिस वाले हैं, जो वर्कर हैं, उनसे कहा जाए कि जितने भी लोग हैं, आइदर मास्क और रुमाल और अंगोछा, तो हम इनको रोक पाएंगे 80% 90% लोगों को.
So I was actually using the word angocha. In UP they call angocha, in Bihar they call gamcha. So I was very happy that later on even the Prime Minister used a gamcha to cover the face, because mask is not required. Mask is only required when you are in the hospital. Okay, coming on to the vaccine part. I was talking, I'm doing a lot of webinars with the American cardiologists, with the Canadian cardiologists, with American and Britishers and other people, and WHO people. Vaccine is still away at least 6 months. Lot of human trials are going on. What is actually a vaccine? An innovative approach to COVID-19 vaccine development using RNA offers advantages in speed and stability. Vaccine will take 12 to 18 months. This was the guideline coming from the WHO. A vaccine as on 16th May, I took out lot of work, and WHO has said they have 7 or 8 candidates for COVID-19 vaccine. Out of 100 vaccines being tested worldwide, 70 it was earlier, now it is 100 candidates. But all are animal now. There is no human trial. Oxford University has started. The WHO Director General Tedros, you know, he is under fire these days because people are feeling that he was late in announcing the pandemic and we are all suffering. So he said that we have 70 vaccines from 40 countries. They are $88 billion pledged by leaders from 40 countries. So giving you some example, Moderna vaccine may come by the end of this. Novavax vaccine, the vaccine Novavax, InView Pharmaceutical, US Pfizer. Pfizer is a big company, it's German company. They're teaming up with German company BioNTech to develop this RNA vaccine. Johnson & Johnson, Chinese are making the vaccine. All are in the trial as of now. The University of Oxford was the first to test a human trial, started about 2 weeks back. They have done a monkey trial, but human trials are also on. So this is likely that somebody says that Indian firm partnering with Oxford, that they can have something like September, but most scientists have said the vaccine is not expected in the market before 2 years or minimum of 18 months. So this is a scary situation. If you don't have vaccine, how long to continue lockdown? Because one virus can infect 400 people. This is a small estimate by ICMR. Sanofi Pharmaceutical, status of COVID-19 vaccine in India. Let me tell you this. India will begin clinical trials of its BCG vaccine which is for tuberculosis, on 6,000 high-risk individuals. It will be done to understand its safety and efficacy in boosting immunity in the fight against COVID-19. And whether or not the BCG shots can reduce the severity, we don't know. Sometimes we feel that why can't we have ourselves our own vaccine, which is taking time. Italian has compared that they have the corona breakthrough a few days back. Lot of television showed that Italian are coming up with the vaccine, but this is again at least 6 months away. Last, I would like to tell you about the recent vaccine, which is monoclonal antibody. This is a very important and promising. What is monoclonal antibody? Monoclonal antibody means you have an antibody developed somewhere else in some other animal and you infuse it. This is like plasma treatment. So Israel develops a key antibody that attacks and neutralizes the virus in the patient's body. But this was 7 days back. I spoke to Israeli people. We have friends in Israel. They said they are waiting for the patent. If they are waiting for the patent, why they cannot start their own trial? So we are not sure whether it was actually a fact or fiction. We don't know. But monoclonal antibody can be a game changer actually in the treatment of coronavirus disease, because this is like immunity, and this will kill the virus and the patient will not become serious and he will not die. So coming on to the, if does not come at all, this is a possibility. This is a very dangerous situation. What if vaccine? Because you see, if you remember, HIV and like many other diseases, the vaccine has never come. So what if vaccine does not come at all? Then what we will do? Then we will remember, we'll need, for example, HIV. I am comparing with HIV because HIV was again a pandemic, which was basically a blood transmitted or sexually transmitted disease. But we have a treatment available for HIV. Patient is not dying now. Today, if you have AIDS, you can have the start of treatment, you have a normal life. But as of now, coronavirus disease does not have the treatment. So Boris Johnson, who has recovered, he said that vaccine is likely at least more than a year away. But he also warned that vaccine may never be found. I'm not scaring you, but this is a possibility. One word about the contact tracing. If you don't have the contact tracing app on your mobile, please do download. This is coming from Arog Setu, which is Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. This is a very simple app. You should not fear about this privacy and other issues made by because Ravi Shankar Prasad Ji himself has come that this is not a privacy issue. How does it help? This is very important. How does it help? If you have a contact tracing app in your mobile, how will it help? If you are coming in contact with any COVID-19 patient during the last 2 weeks, 14 days, then you have a buzzer on the mobile, red color will come, that possibly you have come in contact with a coronavirus patient, and therefore either you quarantine yourself or do testing. So this is one step ahead of social or physical distancing. So if you don't have the app, please download it today. It is safe, it will warn you, but there's nothing to worry, because if it will just warn you that you have come in contact, does not mean that you have been exposed, you have become a patient of COVID-19. But just to take help in this. Recovery trial is there going on with the antibody. Give you a small word about the plasma therapy. Yesterday we have infused 2 plasma therapy in Apollo Hospital. What is plasma therapy? Plasma therapy is not a difficult thing. It was being used for various diseases earlier also. But this is only reserved by Indian Council of Medical Research for very sick patients. You take out the blood of the patient who has recovered from COVID-19. It should be minimum 14 days. 14 days recovered patient. Take the blood out, remove the heme part, only take the plasma part, take this, check the antibody level. Check the antibody level. If they are enough, infuse this into the patient of COVID-19. That means you are taking help of somebody else's immunity and putting into the COVID-19 patients, and the patient is likely to recover. But we have seen the failure of plasma therapy. In Delhi, the first plasma therapy patient or second plasma therapy patient died. So, but this is helpful. Herd immunity is very important. I would tell you, I'm just touching some major points. Herd immunity means let everybody be allowed to be infected. No social distancing, no physical distancing. This is what Sweden did. Stockholm was later on, actually it was very much criticized. Stockholm, where the Nobel Prize is given, they did not have the social lockdown. So they thought that everybody will be infected, and after a few days, spread of most of the population gets immunized, and of course when you have immunity, few will die and few will come back and they will be normal. They will never be infected, like producing a natural vaccine. But this was criticized because this virus is dangerous, 5% mortality, elderly people 20% mortality. You cannot allow people to die and then depend upon the own immunity. So this is not possible. Lockdown has helped in India preparing for herd immunity? No. India has relaxed down for discharge. This was criticized on 11th of May. Parks are being opened. Government has decided to resume train services before lockdown ends. Guidelines. Shramik special trains. Are you thinking that you will have herd immunity? This is not true. Herd immunity is very dangerous. This is the Great Wall of China where people are moving around. I think they have something done. Now China is reducing or they are showing false data. So we are not sure about this. So herd immunity is not the answer. This is my take. And Dr. Fausto Pinto, who is the World Health Federation, the elect president, he was on the webinar. He said this is not possible for this disease and therefore just forget about it. How India is preparing? For severe cases not requiring ICU or oxygen support, patient could be discharged after one negative test. The guidelines are changing. Ideally, before we were waiting for two negative tests before discharge. Now we are taking only one negative and then discharge because of the overwhelming demand of the beds. As I told you, we have 87 beds in Apollo Delhi and we have a waiting list of the patients, and when it is not completely free or is subsidized. So coming on to the ventilator treatment, this is my last part of this. Ventilator are life-saving. I am telling on television I'm live, but I want to tell you that many times lot of public have criticized the private hospitals that this is a money-making machine. You use ventilator for no reason. If we recall February, March, Italy fell short of ventilator. What happened at that time? They had one ventilator for 3 patients. Example. And the doctor was choosing whether 80-year-old patient should get ventilator or 40-year-old. So ventilator, one should not criticize. If you remember, few years back, there was some TV news item by Superstar, and he made they called it as a money-making machine rather than life-making machine. If you remember one of the TV shows, I'm not recalling the name, but I think people will understand. Healthcare workers are the worst affected, and we have to take care. A lot of doctors have died. This is a small video from BBC. I want to show you how the nurse is telling about how the
cases are so strong. Having loss of sense of smell as a key symptom.
So overall, the things are very gloomy for healthcare workers. When I talk to my patients in COVID-19 ward, let me give you my own example. We do sometimes video conferencing, sometimes we take the PPE kit and go if it is really required. And I really salute the people who are actually myself as a doctor who have taken the courage to be there inside the COVID ward, and we are testing them. Fortunately, the COVID ward people have not got infected. The PPE is working. Plasma therapy, as I told you, role of China, I'm not going to discuss here. This is only, I remember, this is the professor, Japanese professor. Whether it was a fake news or correct news, he said this is a man-made virus. He said my Nobel Prize should be taken back if I proved untrue. But later on, Asian scientist, April 28, he himself, either he made a U-turn or he said this was a fake news not made by man. But still, we are under this. Coming to the last part, cardiac patients are most affected. But to tell you the truth, COVID-19 can also produce acute MI because it's a prothrombotic condition. This is actually my last slide. I want to tell you the case fatality rate from February 24, but this is now changed. Overall mortality, they said 2.3%. Today, when we are seeing other diseases in other countries, this is basically from China, now we're seeing about 4 to 5%. Patients who are more than 80 years, 14% patient will die. 15% is a huge mortality. It is worse than tuberculosis or cancer. Because the cancer patient will die in 2 years' time, 3 years' time. The worst of the cancer, the brain tumor, will take at least 6 months of 1 year life. Here, patient will die within 3 weeks. I'm not scaring you. Our Prime Minister says 2P. 1P is precaution, other P is panic. Lockdown was never there because considering the data, with cardiovascular disease, if you have a heart patient, 10% patient will die. 10%. That is also within 3 weeks, not 1 year. कैंसर का जो होता है बीमारी होती है कि आपको 1 साल जीने के लिए है. You tell everybody, okay, you have 1 year. Here, 3 weeks. With diabetes, if you are diabetic, 7% patient will die. With COPD, 6.3%. Hypertension, 6%. With cancer, only 5%. But overall, 5 to 6%. So this is a scary slide. Last part is regarding the patients who are born to the COVID-19 mother. Because I have seen and we have said in our Apollo hospital also that we have patients who are actually COVID-19 infected and they are giving birth to the children So this is a study and this is confirmed. The children born to COVID-19 will not be carrying the infection. They will have only antibodies. This is a good news for them. And this is, thank you very much for inviting me. I think now we can take questions because there are a lot of questions remaining unanswered. We're doing webinars. We did through the Indo-European course, which is ICR. This is a logo. We have done many webinars over of now. Now we have done 8 webinars. Yesterday I was with Greg Stone. This is a copy of that, and I can show you. I'll stop sharing the slide. I can a little go behind, and I invite the questions. And thank you again, Mr. Lal Goel and other Karnataka TV, to give me this opportunity to share few of my knowledge. I am an interventional cardiologist, but I have done a lot of work on COVID-19 also. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Now, thank you very much, Professor Dr. Gupta, for giving such a in-depth presentation of the COVID-19. You have said everything, you have shown all the slides, plus, minus points, everything you have. So it's a very, very, you can say enlightening thing, because all the slides, what you have shown, prove that one thing, that we have to be very, very cautious and have to follow whatsoever the guidelines are coming from the government side or from the medical side, and then only we can save our life. Now we have to take questions, but my first question is, as you have mentioned about the heart disease. Now when it has come in the news that in many cases it was found that this COVID-19 or coronavirus is not only affecting the upper respiratory system, but also doing this blood clotting or the thrombosis. So in that case, those patients who are already on the blood thinners, what will be their position? Will they be better because they are already taking blood thinners, and if even the coronavirus comes, whether they will be having better, Dr. Gupta?
Your question is very valid, and this is actually, you know, the India is diabetic capital. We have about incidence of heart disease about 10 to 12%. We have all kind of patients in India who have either post-bypass surgery, post-angioplasty, or on medical treatment, and most of them are on blood thinners. Initially, we always thought that coronavirus disease is only upper respiratory tract infection, as you rightly said, because the symptoms were only cough and fever and dyspnea requiring ventilation. But later on, the research showed in Italy especially that actually it is a prothrombotic condition. That means this virus will lead to thrombosis everywhere in the body, including the heart. And whenever we see an autopsy has been done, it has been found that acute heart attack, that acute MI, is the final nail. Because I remember 2-3 patients, I can give you examples of here. In Apollo Hospital, one of the very important industries was hospitalized. He was initially on non-invasive ventilator, and we were almost thinking of discharging. He became COVID negative. And one fine morning, he had a severe arrhythmia, and we lost him. And the next day it was discharged, planned discharge. So overall, prothrombosis means there is a high level of procoagulability. That means ecosprin alone or antiplatelet like clopidogrel alone is not enough in the patient if you get infected. That is why we start anticoagulant, which is injections, heparin, something like heparin or low molecular weight heparin, all the patients who get infected, so that we can prevent acute thrombosis in the heart. And that is why we can. Second part component is not only thrombosis but also myocarditis. Myocarditis means inflammation of the heart muscle. Carditis. Itis means inflammation. So myocardium is the name of the muscle of the heart. So if the inflammation of the myocardium will happen, it will lead to reduced heart functions. The heart pumping function, which is assessed by ejection fraction, is about 60%. And when you do echocardiography of these patients who are infected and who have got myocarditis, the ejection fraction will go down to 30%, 25%, and they will have pulmonary edema, X-ray will be full of water, and all those complications happen. And they will also be vulnerable to cardiac arrhythmias, and arrhythmia means ventricular tachycardia and ventricular fibrillation requiring DC shock. These are two major complications. But at the same time, if you are not infected, then don't worry, continue with those. This is a point of debate. there are a lot of patients recently discharged by bypass angioplasty and they are on icosapent and clopidogrel. Whether you can start a low dose of heparin, because you never know when they get infected and they remain asymptomatic and they can die in sleep. I have people known in Delhi only who were found to be positive and they said they will remain home and they died in sleep. Two patients and one was doctor also. So whether it was myocarditis happening, ventricular tachycardia, fibrillation, and that is why there is always a debate. Now the government is changing the guideline. They say if you are infected, you can also home quarantine because hospitalization may not be required. So this is again a small debate. I feel that everybody should be hospitalized if found positive, because any day in the evening or the night you can require oxygen and the beds are not available. But on the overwhelming demand of the beds and the shortage of beds, people are now the government is saying you can treat yourself at home, which is something which I have to debate and find the reason. So the heart patients, the low molecular weight heparin or heparin may be started immediately if you are not infected. But whether to start before getting infected is to be discussed with the other cardiologists. We have to find a guideline.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. So in depth details about whether we should go for that or not. Now I think Mr. Piyush Agrawal from Bareilly, he would like to have a question. Yes,
yes sir. डॉक्टर नमस्कार.
नमस्कार.
ये मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि जैसे एंजियोप्लास्टी और ये बाईपास एक सॉल्यूशन है कोरोनरी डिजीज को, क्या कोई ऐसी मेडिसिन भी है जो रिवर्सल करती हो उसको डिपॉजिट्स को?
आपने क्वेश्चन पूछा कि जैसे आप फिर से बताइए क्वेश्चन, फिर से बताइए क्या?
मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है, एक्चुअली मैंने 97 में एंजियोप्लास्टी कराई थी. तो एंजियोप्लास्टी ही कोई सॉल्यूशन है या कोई ऐसी मेडिसिन भी है?
अच्छा, यू आर टॉकिंग नॉट कोरोना वायरस, यू आर टॉकिंग ऑफ हार्ट डिजीज. देखिए अभी तक कोई भी ऐसी मेडिसिन नहीं आई है. लॉट ऑफ क्लेम्स हैव कमिंग फ्रॉम वेरियस पीपल व्हिच आर नॉन साइंटिफिक. देयर इज नॉट, बट कुछ स्टैटिन्स हैं. स्टैटिन मतलब जो कोलेस्ट्रॉल को दवाई कम करने की दवाइयां होती हैं, उसमें काफी हाई डोज में अगर दें, फॉर एग्जांपल एटोरवास्टैटिन नॉर्मली हम लोग 20 या 40 मिलीग्राम देते हैं. 80 मिलीग्राम की अगर डोज दी जाए तो अगर 40% की ब्लॉकेज है तो वो कम होकर 20% रह जाती है. 70% की ब्लॉक है वो 10% रह जाए, 20% है ओवर लॉन्ग पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. सो बट दैट आर few studies only. So we have to wait and watch. Any patient who has got 50% block does not require angioplasty. Any patient who has got 70 to 80% blockage require angioplasty. If the blockages are many, कई जगह ब्लॉक है, ऐसी जगह स्टेंट नहीं लग सकता तो बाईपास सर्जरी. और कुछ लोगों को दवा में भी रख लेते हैं हम लोग, जैसे एक ही ब्लॉक है और 60% है तो विल नॉट डू एंजियोप्लास्टी. आई हैव मेनी पेशेंट्स हु आर ऑन मेडिसिंस. व्हाट आर द मेडिसिन? मेडिसिन आर इकोस्प्रिन होता है बेसिकली ब्लड थिनर्स, और स्टैटिन्स होते हैं जो कोलेस्ट्रॉल कम करते हैं, विद द होप कि वो शायद कम हो जाए. विद द होप, इट्स नॉट क्लियरिटी. अभी तक ऐसी कोई दवा नहीं है कि आपने 6 महीने दवा खा ली, 70% ब्लॉक था वो आके 30% हो गया. ऐसी फूल प्रूफ दवा अभी भी नहीं है कोई. दवा खाते रहिए. और एक चीज और बताना चाहता हूँ आपके माध्यम से, आपके टेलीविजन के माध्यम से, काफी लोग दवाइयां बंद कर देते हैं. वो कहते हैं 4 दवाई खानी पड़ रही है. उनको साइकोलॉजिकल होता है कि दवा खा रहे तो बीमार है, दवा बंद होगी तो मैं ठीक हो गया, विच इज नॉट ट्रू. जैसे हाई ब्लड प्रेशर की दवा जिंदगी भर खानी है, डायबिटीज की जिंदगी भर खानी है, हार्ट डिजीज की तो जिंदगी भर खानी ही है. मेरे कई पेशेंट होते हैं 5-6 साल तक तो आते हैं, फिर आना बंद कर देते हैं. लोकल दिखाते हैं, लोकल किसी ने कहा चलो इसको कम कर दो, इसको कम कर दो. पेशेंट कुछ चाहता है डॉक्टर दवा कम कर दें, तो डॉक्टर सोचता है कि भाई कैसे कर रहे हैं, चलो इसको हटा देते हैं, इसको हटा देते हैं. वो मत करिए, क्योंकि फिर आपको फिर से ब्लॉक हो जाएगा, फिर एंजियोप्लास्टी की जरूरत पड़ेगी. हो सकता है इस बार बाईपास की जरूरत पड़ जाए, या हो सकता है कि आपको ट्रीटमेंट तक पहुंच ही ना पाए, हार्ट अटैक हो जाए. आई एम नॉट स्केयरिंग यू, बट दिस इज अ डोंट स्टॉप मेडिसिन लाइफ लॉन्ग.
सर मैं एक क्वेश्चन और है, कोविड में ऑक्सीजन का जो बात है, ऑक्सीजन का क्या रोल है, क्या करता है?
देखिए ऐसा है, जैसा कि मैंने आपको स्लाइड के द्वारा दिखाया था, कोविड वायरस सबसे पहले अफेक्ट करता है अपने लंग्स के सेल्स को, और लंग्स के सेल्स को उस हद तक अफेक्ट करता है. एक स्टडी आई थी कि कोविड वायरस जो है ऑक्सीजन, जो हीमोग्लोबिन होता है ना, जहां ऑक्सीजन कैरी करती है, वो हीम पोर्शन को और हीम का जो दूसरा ग्लोबिन पोर्शन को डिसोसिएट कर देता है, जिसकी वजह से ऑक्सीजन जो है कम मात्रा में पहुंचती है. दिस इज बिकॉज ऑफ द डेडली वायरस व्हिच कैन लीड टू डिसोसिएशन ऑफ ऑक्सीजन एंड हीम, यानी कि जो हीमोग्लोबिन जो ऑक्सीजन अंदर पहुंचाती है पूरे बॉडी में, जब ऐसा हो जाएगा पोरफायरिन नाम की चीज क्रिएट होती है, इसीलिए हाइड्रोक्सीक्लोरोक्विन इज यूजफुल एट दैट लेवल। ये भी पता किया गया था एंटीवायरल एक्टिविटी इस लेवल से हाइड्रोक्सीक्लोरोक्विन की है। तो जब वो ऑक्सीजन डिसोसिएट हो जाएगा तो ऑक्सीजन की मात्रा लंग्स में कम हो जाएगी, तो आपको ऊपर से ऑक्सीजन देनी पड़ेगी। कहने मतलब है इट विल लीड टू माइनर निमोनिया और मेजर निमोनिया, where one of the component of the lungs will be affected so badly that the oxygenation is not proper। तो बॉडी के अंदर सैचुरेशन जो देखते हैं ना हम लोग, सैचुरेशन प्रोब होता है, उसमें नॉर्मली 95 तक होना चाहिए, वो गिर के आ जाएगा 85 या 90 या 88 या 70, फिर ऑक्सीजन देना पड़ेगा। और अगर और भी कम हो जाता है तो फिर आपको आर्टिफिशियल नॉन इन्वेजिव, दो तरह के वेंटिलेटर होते हैं, नॉन इन्वेजिव तो ऊपर प्रेशर, इन्वेजिव मतलब ट्यूब डाल दिया अंदर ट्रैकिया में, उससे होता है। तो ऑक्सीजन पे ही सबसे ज्यादा पहला उसका वार होता है हीमोग्लोबिन को डिसोसिएट करना।
Thank you, doctor. Now there is a question we have received from WhatsApp. Very good morning to you, sir. I am named Lata from Chennai. I want to know whether cardiovascular complications occur in addition to illness of lungs. Doctor, can you just transfer the hostship to me because somebody wants to join? I think some problem with our TV channel. Can you just make me the host then?
Just a minute.
So that I will. Mr. Narayan, are you there now?
अच्छा, यहाँ पे co-host वाली पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं है, इसमें होस्ट है ओनली।
Yeah. So you make me the host now. So I will add somebody. Now, okay. Anyway. So now the question from Ms. Senlata is that whether cardiovascular complications occur in addition to illness of lungs because of high inflammatory response. Is the risk higher who already have heart disease? Will blockade in arteries susceptible can worsen cardiac stroke? Will respiratory infection will damage the heart? What are the precautionary measures from COVID-19 and everyone is scared to enter hospital premises due to infection trauma? Can you kindly explain? I think she has asked so many questions. Yes, doctor.
Actually, I have already explained this question. If you want, I can share the slide again. The question is very valid actually. If the patient is suffering from heart disease, he has to be very, very careful. यानी कि आपको तो मास्क हर समय पहनना ही है। अगर बाहर जाते हैं तो बिना मास्क के आप बाहर ना निकले। When I take the rounds, I take the face shield and all things. But one thing which is very important is आजकल एक face shield आई है बड़ी simple. I don't have it now. जो कि बड़ा simple होता है, 100-150 रुपए की होती है। तो मास्क कई बार नीचे चला आता है, कई बार लोग people जो है they are not able to completely cover the nose. उनका मास्क यहाँ रहता है। So उनको लिए face shield better है। तो any patient of heart disease भी mostly heart disease मतलब coronary artery disease होता है, उसको 15% risk है। मैं फिर से कुछ टाइम उन्होंने मिस कर दिया। I will take again the presentation of myself to show you. This is the slide which has shown February 24 JAMA, Journal of American Medical Association. कई बार लोग मिस कर देते स्लाइड। Patients who are having cardiovascular disease, they have a high risk of 10% dying, and that too within 3 weeks of catching the infection. So that means heart patients को बहुत ही संभल के रहना है। मैंने अभी डिस्कस किया था उनकी दवाइयाँ जो चल रही हैं, खास करके इकोस्प्रिन, क्लोपिटोग्रेल जो कि एंटीप्लेटलेट है, वो रेगुलर खाते रहें और अपने कार्डियोलॉजिस्ट से सलाह ले लें कि अगर आपने इन्फेक्शन होने के चांसेस ज्यादा हैं। For example, if you are traveling, for example, if you are living in a place जहाँ पे काफी भीड़-भाड़ होती है, you are not able to cover your face, तो low molecular weight heparin लेने में कोई बुराई नहीं है। क्यों? ये मेरी पर्सनल ओपिनियन है, गाइडलाइन नहीं है। उसके मैं कार्डियोलॉजिस्ट हूँ, I can give my personal opinion also। तो क्योंकि उसका रीजन ये है कि अगर आपको बाई चांस इन्फेक्शन हुआ, अब इसमें बड़ा हिम्मत की बात है, कई बार फीवर नहीं आता, कई बार खांसी भी नहीं आती, और यू में भी एसिम्प्टोमेटिक पार्शियली, हल्का फुल्का जुकाम हुआ, जुकाम भी नहीं होगा, 1-2 खांसी आई, अब टेस्ट तो कराएंगे नहीं आप इसमें, अब आपने टेस्ट भी नहीं कराया, यू आर इन्फेक्टेड, यू आर इन्फेक्टिंग अदर्स आल्सो। तो हार्ट पेशेंट को लो मॉलिक्यूलर वेट हेपेरिन देने में which is a very simple medicine, once a day or twice a day. खास करके आपको लगता है कि आप शायद इन्फेक्टेड जोन में जा चुके हैं, अगर आपने ऐप है आरोग्य सेतु ऐप और आरोग्य सेतु ऐप ने आपको रेड सिग्नल दिखा दिया, उसमें रेड सिग्नल आता है कि यू हैव पॉसिबली कम इन कांटेक्ट, यू हैव कम इन कांटेक्ट बट यू मे बी इन्फेक्टेड, यू मे नॉट बी इन्फेक्टेड. दैट मींस आपका अगर पीसीआर टेस्ट कराएं तो हो सकता है इन्फेक्शन आ जाए, लेकिन पीसीआर टेस्ट भी 100% फुल प्रूफ नहीं है. तो मैं हार्ट पेशेंट्स के लिए कहूंगा कार्डियोलॉजिस्ट से राय ले, एक सीनियर कार्डियोलॉजिस्ट से. अगर वो कहता है कि भाई आप इंजेक्शन लो ब्लड प्रेशर है पहले शुरू कर दी, तो एक हफ्ता इंजेक्शन लेने में कोई बुराई नहीं है, बिकॉज यू हैव ए 10% रिस्क ऑफ डेथ, मतलब यू मींस एनीबॉडी हु इज गेट इन्फेक्टेड. इसलिए हार्ट पेशेंट को ध्यान रखना चाहिए, बहुत जरूरी है. और वो दवा तीसरी दवा जो कि एंटीकोगुलेंट है, बिकॉज प्रोथ्रोम्बोसिस करता है, उसको ले लेना चाहिए. दिस इज माय पर्सनल ओपिनियन.
Okay, thank you, doctor. But there is people say that once the angioplasty has been done, now the heart is perfectly all right. Then why you want to take these precautions?
Because you see, for some reasons, जिसकी एंजियोप्लास्टी हो चुकी है वो तो एक जगह हुई है. मैं एग्जांपल देना चाहता हूँ, मैं दिल्ली रहता हूँ, शायद सब कुछ समझ नहीं आता. हार्ट के अंदर 3 नसें होती है, राइट कोरोनरी आर्टरी, लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकुलर डिसेंडिंग आर्टरी, लेफ्ट सर्कमफ्लेक्स आर्टरी. जैसे आप यहां से मथुरा गए, मथुरा में एक जगह पलवल आता है, होडल आता है, तो आपने ब्लॉकेज खोल दिया पलवल वाला, लेकिन होडल में ब्लॉक फिर से आ जाएगा, ये नहीं पता. स्टेंट विल नॉट स्टॉप दिस. सेकेंडली, द प्रोथ्रोम्बोसिस है, तो स्टेंट के अंदर भी थ्रोम्बस बन सकता है. स्टेंट विद ए पाइप में, इट इज ए सिलेंडर. तो एंजियोप्लास्टी डज नॉट मीन कि आपको अमृत मिल गया, जैसे रावण के पास अमृत था कि उसके केवल नाभि में था. इट इज नॉट ट्रू. यू हैव टू टेक प्रिकॉशन. इट्स लाइक ए डेंटल ट्रीटमेंट. एक दांत का इलाज करा लिया और दूसरे दांत में इन्फेक्शन कोरोना वायरस की वजह से हो सकता है. इसलिए हार्ट के अंदर 3 नसों में कहीं और ब्लॉक हो चुका है. एंजियोप्लास्टी डज नॉट मेक यू इम्यून. इट्स नॉट ए वैक्सीन कि आपको आगे हार्ट की बीमारी नहीं होगी. यू हैव ट्रीटेड ए स्पेसिफिक पोर्शन. ओनली मेडिसिन विल हेल्प यू फॉर द लाइफ लॉन्ग. कि मेडिसिन इसी लाइफ लॉन्ग है कि और जगह ब्लॉकेज ना आए, इसकी कोशिश रहती है, लेकिन वो भी श्योरिटी नहीं रहती. अगर कोविड-19 इन्फेक्शन किसी हार्ट पेशेंट को होता है, because of prothrombosis, because of the higher coagulability, the blood can clot in other places जहां पे स्टेंट नहीं लगा है, इसलिए आपको प्रिकॉशन लेना है.
Okay, doctor. Because we are doing lots of this types of discussion. One of the discussion, what doctor said that use the zinc. He said that if you are going to have zinc, the immunity power will increase. Then the COVID-19 will not affect. What is your take about it?
This is a very good question. Actually, immunity is the only thing which can help you. Immunity is like a vaccine. Prevention. Vaccine is prevention. Plasma treatment is treatment. तो ट्रीटमेंट और प्रिवेंशन में फर्क होता है. हमने कहा प्रिवेंशन के लिए वैक्सीन चाहिए, जो अभी आई नहीं है. इम्यूनिटी अगर है तो आपको छोटे छोटा खांसी जुकाम बुखार होता है ना, जिसकी ज्यादा इम्यूनिटी होती है उसको निमोनिया तक नहीं पहुंचता. जिम से करिए, विटामिन सी खाइए, नींबू लीजिए, संतरा लीजिए, मौसम्मी लीजिए दिन में 3-4 बार. अब विटामिन सी की डोज जो कि इम्यूनिटी बढ़ाती है वो काफी ज्यादा है. नॉर्मल विटामिन सी की टैबलेट आती है 500 मिलीग्राम की, और विटामिन सी की जो स्टडी हुई है वो 10 ग्राम पर डे अगर खाएंगे विटामिन सी तो इम्यूनिटी बढ़ती है विदिन 1 वीक. अब ये स्टडी है, तो हम तो अभी भी कहते हैं कि 2 टैबलेट विटामिन सी की सुबह दोपहर शाम खाइए. जिम जाने से क्या है, एक्सरसाइज कैपेसिटी बढ़ती है, योर लंग कैपेसिटी गोज ऑन. जैसे आप अगर विग्रस एक्सरसाइज करेंगे, अब रामदेव साहब कहते हैं हमारे प्रोग्राम में आएंगे, वो कहते हैं आप इस तरह अगर करते हैं तो लंग की कैपेसिटी बढ़ती है, लंग्स के अंदर के इनर पोर्शन खुल जाते हैं, एल्वेओलाई, इसके करने से. तो जिम जाने से व्हेन यू आर डूइंग हार्ड एक्सरसाइज तो यू आर हार्ड ब्रीदिंग आल्सो. व्हेन यू हार्ड ब्रीदिंग योर लंग कैपेसिटी विल इंप्रूव. तो इम्यूनिटी नहीं बढ़ती उससे, व्हिच आई फील दैट इम्यूनिटी से उसका रिलेशनशिप नहीं है, बट योर लंग कैपेसिटी इंक्रीज करती है. तो हल्का फुल्का निमोनिया में आपको ऑक्सीजन की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, बहुत सीवियर हुआ तो वेंटिलेटर की जरूरत पड़ेगी. ये फर्क होता है. एल्डरली पॉपुलेशन को वेंटिलेटर जल्दी की जरूरत पड़ती है कि उनकी लंग कैपेसिटी पुअर हो जाती है, दे आर नॉट ब्रीथिंग. उनके हार्ट अंदर के जो लंग्स के कंपोनेंट होते हैं, जो खास करके डीपर इनर पोर्शन होते हैं एल्वेओलाई वाले, माइक्रो एल्वेओलाई, वहां तक ऑक्सीजन पहुंचती ही नहीं है. तो इसीलिए हम उसको स्पायरोमेट्री दी जाती है. स्पायरोमेट्री मतलब जहां पे आप देखा होगा जो बाईपास के पेशेंट होते हैं उनको रिकवर करने के लिए फुलाते हैं और एक बॉल होता है ऊपर नीचे जाता है. तो जिम कैन हेल्प यू टू इंक्रीज योर रेस्पिरेटरी कैपेसिटी. इम्यूनिटी वेदर इट विल बी हेल्प इज नॉट नोन, देयर इज नो स्टडी. इम्यूनिटी बढ़ाने के लिए विटामिन सी एंड कोक्यू एंजाइम. कोक्यू एंजाइम एक दवा आती है जो कि कई नामों से आती है, CoQ10 के नाम से, यूरोक्यू के नाम से। ये सेलुलर लेवल पे इम्यूनिटी बढ़ाती है। मैं खा रहा हूँ 100 मिलीग्राम ट्वाइस अ डे, मैंने शुरू कर दिया। देखो ऐसा है, वी आर ऑल वल्नरेबल, एनीबॉडी इज वल्नरेबल, एवरीबॉडी इज वल्नरेबल। व्हेन आप बोरिस जॉनसन को हो गया, यू नो द प्राइम मिनिस्टर, व्हाइट हाउस में पहुंच गया, ऑल्दो डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प का हुआ कि नहीं, वी डोंट नो, ही इज नॉट वेयरिंग द मास्क आल्सो। सो आई वाज टॉकिंग टू अमेरिका, लेट मी टेल यू एग्जांपल, द मास्क इज नॉट ए एसेंशियलिटी इन यूएसए। न्यूयॉर्क इज कंप्लीटली लॉकडाउन, दे बिलीव दैट मास्क पहनना चाहिए, बट इट्स नॉट ए गाइडलाइन मैंडेटरी जैसे हमारे इंडिया में हो गया है। थैंक्स टू माय, हो सकता है मेरे टीवी शो से हुआ हो, मैंने ट्वीट किया हो, किया करो, बिकॉज कई बार होता क्या, सोच आपने कह दिया 2 मीटर 2 गज की दूरी, लेकिन होता नहीं है, प्रैक्टिकल नहीं है। आप जाओगे, अगर गोयल साहब मिलेंगे, मैं आ जाऊंगा 1 मीटर के आसपास, हाँ क्या ये क्या हाल है। अगर आपका फेस कवर्ड है, देन यू फ्री, वंस योर फेस इज कवर्ड, then physical distancing is also not that important, which is largely impractical. अब कितनी दूरी से बात करो, आप 2 मीटर नापते थोड़ी हो आप। वायरस मैंने जोर से बोला या किसी ने जोर से बोला, वायरस हवा में आ गया, लोगों को इन्फेक्ट कर गया। इन्फेक्टेड पेशेंट, हमारे जो पेशेंट आता है, मैं थोड़ा एग्जांपल दे क्या बताता हूँ। हमारे पेशेंट भर्ती हुआ कोविड-19 का, मैं देख रहा हूँ उसको, मैंने वीडियो कॉल से देख लिया उसको, बहुत सीरियस हो तभी जाऊंगा मैं। Why should we take the risk unnecessarily? Because जूनियर डॉक्टर्स की टीम पूरी लगी हुई है, नर्सेज की टीम लगी है, सीनियर डॉक्टर को बहुत जरूरी नहीं कि हर समय जाए वहां पे। अब उसका अटेंडेंट आता है, मेरे कमरे में आया, मैंने कहा क्या आप कौन हो, कि उनके बेटा हूं मैं। मैंने कहा आपको कोविड टेस्ट हुआ, रिपोर्ट आई कि रिपोर्ट नहीं आई। हमने बेटा थोड़ा भाई बाहर रुक जाओ, वी कैन टॉक अ लिटिल डिस्टेंस बिकॉज यू मे बी इन्फेक्टेड। द सन ऑफ द पेशेंट हु इज ऑलरेडी हॉस्पिटलाइज्ड इन अपोलो इज लाइकली टू बी इन्फेक्टेड। तो उसको दूर से बात की, ही वाज वेयरिंग द मास्क व्हिच वाज हाफ लाइक दिस, व्हिच इज वेरी कॉमन, क्योंकि कुछ लोग सांस नहीं ले पाते। तो नेक्स्ट डे मैंने खुद पूछा उस लैब से, हमने कहा ये लड़का था, उसके बेटे के नाम बताया, हमने क्या कोविड रिपोर्ट है, पॉजिटिव है। तो आई सेड ओके, आई वाज लिटिल कॉशियस, आई वाज थिंकिंग, मैंने कहा अगर आके बैठने वाला था उससे पहले मैंने रोक दिया। मैंने कहा वो कोविड पॉजिटिव था एंड ही वाज रोमिंग अराउंड। और हम लोग ने फिर मैंने अलर्ट किया, हमने कहा ये लड़का है, इसका अटेंडेंट है, नॉर्मली वी डोंट अलाउ अटेंडेंट्स टू कम टू हॉस्पिटल बिकॉज दे मे बी इन्फेक्टेड, देयर इज नो नीड। उसको उसी दिन कहा गया, ये तुम घर पर आओ, तो आने जरूरत नहीं। फोन से बताता है, पूछता है बीमार कैसी है, वो इन्फेक्टेड है बट ही इज सिम्प्टोमेटिक, उसको कोई बुखार नहीं आया। तो इट इज इम्यूनिटी व्हिच हेल्प्स। तो इम्यूनिटी बढ़ाने के लिए विटामिन सी CoQ एंजाइम खाते रहिए, एक्सरसाइज करिए, जितनी एक्सरसाइज कर पाए करिए, एल्डरली की सलाह लीजिए। अगर आप बाहर जा रहे हैं तो अपने माता पिता के पास मत जाइए।
और एक क्वेश्चन ये भी है कि जो वॉक कर रहे हैं सुबह, मॉर्निंग में वॉक या इवनिंग में वॉक करते हैं, इफ दे कैन नॉट गो टू जिम, इज इट ओके फॉर देम?
देखिए, अगर पार्क में कुछ खोल दिए गए हैं पार्क, यही चक्कर है कि आर वी बिलीविंग इन हर्ड इम्यूनिटी। मैंने क्वेश्चन किया था, मैं तो सलाह नहीं दूंगा कि वो बाहर जाए अभी, क्योंकि किस आदमी के अगल बगल गुजर जाए यू डोंट नो, बिकॉज द वायरस इज डेंजरस। इसलिए एल्डरली लोगों को घर पे एक्सरसाइज करें, घर की बालकनी में एक्सरसाइज करें, घर की छत पे एक्सरसाइज करें, लेकिन पार्क में अभी ना जाए जब तक कि हमारे पास फुल प्रूफ में। मेरी पर्सनल सलाह है, ऑल्दो तो लोग तो कहते हैं आप पार्क जाइए, सुबह सुबह जाके मास्क पहन के जाइए, लेकिन अगर आप बहुत ही पर्टिकुलर हैं, आप जाने चाहते हैं, कंप्लीटली फेस मास्क कंप्लीट पहन के, मैं तो घर के अंदर बैठा हूँ, तो अपोलो के रूम में बैठता हूँ जब, तो भी मैं बैठता हूँ, तो मैं कंप्लीट कवर करके आप मास्क रहिए। इफ यू वांट टू गो, यू कैन गो।
Thank you very much, Doctor. I think you have given lots of information. Although we have many more questions, but I think I will take one more question. It is from Dr. Devan. He says omega-3 prevents sudden death.
There is no study. एक आध जगह न्यूज आइटम आया था, ओमेगा-3 फैटी एसिड जो होता है, which we always give and they help in controlling and increasing the cholesterol level, जो good cholesterol level होता है, it helps otherwise. But sudden death is not prevented by such things, nothing. No, sudden death can be only prevented by AICD, which is a special pacemaker, and some medicines which are anti-arrhythmic. So as such, there is no such study and don't go this. Sudden death कब होती है ये बताते हैं। सडन डेथ की चांसेस कब होते हैं, जब किसी को दो तरह की बीमारी होती है, या तो हार्ट की फंक्शनिंग, मैंने बताया था हार्ट की मसल मायोकार्डाइटिस हो जाती है, तो मायोकार्डाइटिस हो गई तो हार्ट की पंपिंग जो कि 60% से गिर के आ गई 25%। अगर 30% से कम की इजेक्शन फ्रैक्शन है, जो कि इको से पता लगता है, इकोकार्डियोग्राफी इज अ वेरी कॉमन टेस्ट, अगर 30% से कम है या 35% कम है, तो ही इज ए हाई रिस्क ऑफ सडन वेंट्रिकल एरिथमिया, बहुत तेज फड़फड़ाया हार्ट और रुक गया। AICD is automatic implantable cardiac defibrillator. It is like a pacemaker. एक्सपेंसिव अबाउट 3-4 लाख रुपीस का आता है, जो कि यहाँ लगा दिया जाता है। वो इट इज आर्टिफिशियल डीसी शॉक मशीन जो कि आपने अंदर लगा दी है, और अगर हार्ट फड़फड़ाया रुका तो शॉक देगा अंदर, आपको पता भी लगेगा। इट इज अ कंप्यूटर, इट विल रिकॉग्नाइज दैट दिस पेशेंट इज गोइंग टू डाई, दिस हार्ट इज गोइंग टू अरेस्टेड, वो अपने आप शॉक देके ठीक कर देगा। दैट्स द ओनली वे टू प्रिवेंट सडन कार्डियक डेथ। एंड ओमेगा 3 फैटी एसिड, हो सकता है कोई छोटी मोटी स्टडी नहीं हो, आई एम नॉट अवेयर, बट एज सच कोई लार्ज स्केल स्टडी नहीं है कि कैन प्रिवेंट सडन डेथ। तो सडन डेथ इज ओनली पॉसिबल इन 2 कंडीशन, वन इज हार्ट की पंपिंग कम हो जाए या हाइपरट्रोफिक कार्डियोमायोपैथी हो जाए। आपने कई बार सुना होगा एथलीट रेसर है, एकदम गिर गए, बेहोश हो गए और डेथ हो गई। जब हार्ट कार्डियोमायोपैथी इज ए रेयर कंडीशन जहां की हार्ट की मास की बढ़ जाता है, तो दे हैव रिस्क ऑफ सडन कार्डियक अरिथमियाज एंड अरेस्ट।
Lost your voice, doctor.
मेरी आवाज नहीं आ रही क्या?
Okay, I think some problem, technical problem. So no problem, doctor. No, it's not coming.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Okay. तो मैंने कहा omega 3 fatty acid is not completely, I mean there is no study, तो ये कहीं इन्होंने सुना है तो I don't know, कोई स्टडी नहीं है जो कि सडन डेथ को रोक पाए।
Okay, thank you very much, and I must thank to you, doctor, as well as all those who have joined this media conference. And this media conference, we must give thanks to all our media partners like News Karnataka, B4 News, Malnadu TV, and Global TV, as well as because it was shown live on all these channels, as well as on Facebook and YouTube. And I'm sure what you have said today, that we have to take full precautions. We have to be cautious about the safe distancing, social distancing, wearing the mask, as well as we have to keep our immunity high and take all the precautions unnecessarily. We should not go, and especially for the heart patients, because the mortality rate is very high in case if they will get the coronavirus in comparison to any other disease. So all those who are suffering from the heart disease, whether they have already been bypass surgery has been done or angioplasty has been done, or they are on medicine, they should be very, very cautious, and they should not venture out unnecessarily. And if they are going out, they should try to consult their cardiologist. As the doctor has suggested, if the cardiologist says they should take the injections, etc. But we have to be very, very careful. And thank you very much, doctor, and thank you all for joining us. Thank you.
नमस्कार, नमस्ते।
Thank you. Doctor, you have to end the meeting because
I also would like to thank Mr. Lal Goel and the Karnataka TV, all the channels, for giving me the opportunity to share my views, which is really a problem these days. We have to come out of this. All the conferences are cancelled.
thank you.
Should I end the... So as you saw this was a live show with Karnataka TV and Tamil Nadu and many other channels which I don't know, and it was actually hosted by Mr. Lal Goel, who is living in Bangalore, and we were actually talking about the COVID-19 and heart disease. It was very enlightening to many people, and there were a lot of questions. We hope to come back on Facebook Live soon, and till we are having the answer for the coronavirus, till that means the vaccine or any treatment, जिसको कहते हैं रामबाण, अचूक बाण, कोई ऐसी दवा जब तक नहीं आती है तब तक हम लोगों को इस तरह के प्रोग्राम्स करने पड़ेंगे। इसलिए करने पड़ेंगे कि because we have to save our lives. Many lakhs people have died. Not only in India, still we are lucky, but we have to be very, very careful, and we have to keep taking precautions. And we have to take P for precaution, P for panic, but don't panic, but take precautions. You have to be very, very careful. घर में, बाहर में मास्क पहन के जाइए. घबराइए मत, घबराने से तो काम नहीं चलता. लेकिन कोई पैनिक नहीं. लॉट ऑफ पेशेंट्स मेरे देख रहा हूँ, जान पहचान के लोग हैं, बड़ा पैनिक में हैं कि मुझे कोरोना ना हो जाए, क्या करूँ, क्या नहीं करूँ. बहुत परेशान रहते हैं. इतनी परेशानी की जरूरत नहीं है. मुस्कुराइए और अपना सेहत का ख्याल रखते हुए precaution लेते रहिए. And we hope that God will come, intervene and give us some light in the form of treatment or in the form of vaccine, which will, but vaccine में time लगेगा. We have to be practical. दवाई आ सकती है, कोई repurposed medicine आ सकती है. जैसे मैंने बताया अभी कि my father who Dr. M.L. Gupta himself has proposed a very important medicine जो कि normally use हो रही है कि इसको ट्रायल में डाला जाए. जब ट्रायल में आ जाता है तो उसके बाद कंफर्म हो जाता है कि कोरोना वायरस केसेस में कितनों को फायदा हुआ, तो वी कैन स्टार्ट दैट मेडिसिन, वेरी सिंपल मेडिसिन टू डू इट. तो फाइनली मैं भगवान का आशीर्वाद लेते हुए श्री कृष्ण भगवान जी का, और ये दिस इज आवर स्मॉल टेम्पल जहाँ पे गणेश जी भी है, इसको लेते हुए मैं आपको आज का फेसबुक लाइव बंद करता हूँ. कृष्ण भगवान को आना पड़ेगा, राम जी को आना पड़ेगा. द्वापर त्रेता युग निकल चुके हैं, कलयुग में कौन आएगा वी डोंट नो, बट वी हैव टू बी केयरफुल. लेकिन विदाउट गॉड इंटरवेंशन आई थिंक ये बीमारी का इलाज नहीं होना है. वी हैव टू, भगवान का आशीर्वाद नहीं लेना, भगवान को आना ही पड़ेगा ऐसा लग रहा है. थैंक यू वेरी मच. अगेन भगवान की प्रार्थना करते हुए कृष्ण भगवान को मैं इसको फेसबुक लाइव को बंद करता हूँ. थैंक यू वेरी मच.